Once upon a time, there was Tales of Fantasia. The team who created the Tales of franchise would split into two, Tales Studio and Tri-Ace. Tri-Ace would go on to create a game very much like Tales of Fantasia, called Star Ocean. In America, we would not see the franchise until the PlayStation 1 Star Ocean: The Second Story. Since then, Square Enix released the first game on PSP and re-released the second. Gumdrops has given Star Ocean 2 the HD 2D treatment, so let's give it a shot and get to munching. I'm Quartermuncher, and this is the Quartermuncher Experience. At its heart, Star Ocean 2 is a PlayStation 1 game, and Gumdrops have given the classic game just an HD 2D makeover. They remade the game's cities, dungeons, world maps, and to keep up to date with some current times, giving it some quality of life upgrades, all the while keeping the classic sprites and gameplay of the original. I really like the modern look of cities in the world map alongside the classic sprites. It gives a classic then and now feeling without me having to dig up some PS1 footage to recreate Star Ocean 2. One definite staple I want to give a shout out to is Motoi Sakuraba. He is the composer of games that include Let's See, Star Ocean 1, Star Ocean 2, Star Ocean Second Evolution, Tales of Rebirth, and Baten Kaito's Origins. A couple of those have been covered on this channel. A couple of those, yes, are literally him coming back for re-recordings. He's done all the Tri-Ace Tales games and a lot more, and it shows to the point where the Cross City theme song results in me trying to play Name That Tune from a Tales game, and I still can't figure out which one it is. Star Ocean 2 does not reinvent the wheel when it comes to RPGs. There's towns you go to and dungeons you complete. Towns are your basic hub with inns, item shops, weapons, armor, and guilds. Guilds are really the only unique thing there when you find basic missions for EXP and items.
No.
Dungeons are also really routine. They're just labyrinths with enemies.
What are they?
One thing the game makes obvious is that it's from former developers of a Tales game, namely Tales of Fantasia, but the battle system here feels very much like it. You hack up enemies with basic attacks and skills. It's not particularly combo heavy or flashy, but it gets the job done and I have fun with it.
Anyone hurt? I'm glad everyone's safe.
However, Star Ocean does have its differences from the Tales games. For instance, you have skill systems. These menus basically detail how your character gets to know things outside of combat, as in cooking to cook food outside of combat, alchemy to be able to refine gems to get better equipment outside of combat. These also increase their basic skills, plus something to attack and whatnot. Among other things, you can also use these to complete missions that turn into guilds. Star Ocean also has private actions, which are Star Ocean's answers to Tales skits. In towns, you could separate your party to see them interact at stores to see if there's one available. One quality of life adjustment in 2R has is that I can warp around the map to see if there's one PA available, and just go there. In the original, you had to follow a guide. As for our story, it begins when Claude C. Kenny is warped down to the world of Expel and meets Reyna, a local denizen. Some stuff happens and the two are roped into investigating the Sorcery Globe, a meteor from elsewhere that is infecting monsters and causing havoc worldwide. Star Ocean 2 has a rotating cast, meaning you can gain some party members or not
but
gain
I
them,
wonder if
depending
this
on
is really what you
make.
want.
Oftentimes, getting one member means losing out on another, so the story tends to move on regardless of who you choose or don't.
Of course, we'd love to have you.
The Sorcery Globe, where the real villains make their end-of-disc one appearance, the 10 Wise Men. After you meet them, you're roped to Energy Need, which is basically the Disc 2 area of the original PS1 game, and a large bit of jargon explaining what's going on and if this
to eternity space, and they
the
have
quest is
landed
to
on
then end
Need
the 10
once
Wise
again.
Men,
And their
that's
goal
the game.
is nothing less than complete
Star Ocean
domination
has
of the
never been a
galaxy.
franchise with heavy characterization or a large
So
story
those-
focus. It's always
those
been
were the
excuse
10
to get
wise
from one
men.
town to the next with some good hack and slash combat.
Yes.
And having
They
played
are
all the
led by
entries,
the
including the bad
all-powerful
ones and the good
Gabriel,
ones,
with the
Star
cunning
Ocean 2
Lucifer
is the
serving
high
as
end
their
of the
military
good ones.
advisor.
It reigns
Under
supreme in this
them are
high
the
end
remaining
in this
8
HD
wise men,
remake,
which
accentuates
are
why.
in turn
The
led by
graphics are
Michael.
crisp, the story is good for Star Ocean, and
They
the
are
combat
madmen,
is supreme.
and they are to
Careful.
Star Ocean 2 gives you the beginning choice of choosing to play as Claude or Raynor. There's not a lot of difference between the two, but one of the major ones that made me choose to go the Raynor route is choosing Venus Black, getting him to join the party. However, I played the game mostly as Claude just due to him being the Soviet hero, and I could pack things up again. Before this too, I did some grinding to gain the Eternal Spirit, only to find out that the name the Eternal is. It's Claude's ultimate weapon, which when you swing your sword once, it sends out a couple other stars to increase the amount of attacks per quote-unquote attack, and you get the Disc 2 and have to take out the 10 Wise Men who have all but one weakness, the Bloody Armor. This armor drains your HP but makes you invincible, and I have to use my healer to refill said draining HP. Star Ocean has always had a difficulty curve, but this manages to make the difficulty curve a bit more easy. Alright, it's time for the best commercial. Star Ocean 2, the second story R. The best part is going to be the combat. Although Gumdrops has done a great job making Star Ocean 2 look better, the gameplay is where it's at, and the main part of Star Ocean is the combat, which is just as good as the original or the PSP. The worst part of Star Ocean, the second story R, is the name. It's not exclusive to this, but the whole Star Ocean franchise implies you'll be exploring space, such as Starfield or No Man's Sky. But it's always an excuse for a Star Trek-ish Federation to interview with a standard RPG planet, and will mostly take place on said standard JRPG planet. Expel and Need are fine worlds for what they are, but neither are really what I call fitting in a science fiction game. By the numbers, it took me about 22 hours to cross 2 continents on 2 high dimensions with 1 ultimate weapon. Claude himself gave this an 8 out of 10 in the middle of combat, and I'm not going to disagree with him. This game does come Quartermuncher recommended. Until next time, like and subscribe. I'm Quartermuncher, and I'll see you the next time I've got the munchies.